Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. Today is Monday, February 15th, and this is a YouTube live event. Whether you are here watching the replay or you are joining me for the live stream, thank you for being here with me and thank you for watching. I've got an amazing birthday card for you today that is a double Z fold. And while at first glance it might look a little tricky, I have got lots of tips for you on assembling it. It's a great way to use up your designer series paper and your scrap cardstock. Now, like all my videos, I'm going to be sharing a free link down below that's going to lead you over to the pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies. I'm listening to the wind howl outside of my stamp studio. It's so windy here. So I got a little distracted there for a second. I do apologize. Down with that link below, you'll also find where it navigates you that there'll be a free download there for you to get the template for tonight's card. It's going to make it really easy for you to recreate. And I'm going to give you a quick look at that template too when we get started. Now, this amazing birthday card is typically a Z-fold card for what I'm doing tonight. Is normally done in the horizontal format, but tonight I want to teach it to you vertically. But make sure you hang with me because I've got another card for you that uses entirely different supplies in the different orientation. So a few things before we get started that are housekeeping here. Number one, we would love for you to chat with us during the live stream. But in order to do that, you will need to sign into your YouTube account, which is your Gmail address. That is required by YouTube, not of us. And we would love to chat with you. I come back and I read every single comment that you put here, whether it's during the live stream or it's watching the replay. So I hope that you'll interact with me. Secondly, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Megan. You'll see a little tool icon in front of Megan's name. Megan is my personal moderator, and she is here to help interact with you and answer questions. Because honestly, once I get started, it is really, really difficult to keep up with those. But I want to make sure that you're well taken care of. So Megan is here to do that. And yes, Megan is a real person. We get asked that all the time. So even though 800 miles separate us, she's definitely real and she's definitely here. I think we're ready. What do you say I turn the camera down and let's get you zoomed in and all started. All right, here we go. Thank you all for joining me. I still see that the weather is really, really bad where some of you are at. Oh, and I wish I could send you some Florida sunshine. I really, really do. But if it makes you feel any better, we're getting a really bad cold front here the next few days. But I usually have Northerners tell me, well, that's like our spring weather, so you can't complain. I'm not. All right, I'm going to start with my trimmer because I'm going to do some scoring first. And I've got two pieces of cardstock for this double Z fold. Now, the first one here is measuring 4¼ by 11. And the second piece here is measuring 3½ by 9¾ Now, all of this is going to be on the template that I'm going to share with you, so you don't feel like you have to remember all of this. All right, we're going to do several score lines on both pieces of paper. They're all easy. I'm using my trimmer here. I love the clear cutting guide and the fact that I've got both a scoring and a cutting blade right here. There's a protective coating on this as well, and I've gotten asked this quite a bit. Does this rub off over time? And the answer is no, because of that coating. The straight ledge here at the top is going to ensure that everything is going to be nice and straight. So I'm going to start that first score line here at 2¾ and again, you're going to see me using that edge here to my advantage. And then we're going to just score with that light blade. And then I'm going to scoot over to 5½ inches, which is over here. I'll line that up the best that I can, and then we're going to score one more time. That's it for this piece. Now, believe it or not, the scoring dimensions on this piece are identical. I know that doesn't seem possible, does it? But it's because of the size difference in the second panel for the double Z fold. So 2¾ is going to be this one, and then 5½. So we're just going to scoot over. I have seen this card made with variations of this here and here, so width and length. So feel free to experiment if you're a seasoned paper crafter, and that looks like it would be a fun challenge for you. All right, so we've got our two pieces here. Let's start with the card base first. And what I want you to do, you're going to see here, and I know it's black cardstock, so I'm going to crease it up for you. This is the center of the entire card. So what I want you to do first is just fold it in half. Now, I am a big fan of my bone folder, especially because I love to do fun folds. And those crisp creases are going to be really, really important. Now, I'm going to flip this over, and you may faintly see here that there is another score line. And this is going to come back on top of itself. So you're going to see here, this is kind of where the word Z-fold comes into play. And then we're going to reinforce that as well. Now, these three panels are going to comprise our card. And I'm going to make this the top panel here. So I've cut some designer series paper that we're going to attach, and I've got all those pieces ready to go. I love my silicone craft sheet because I tend to be very, very messy when it comes to either glue or adhesive, and even hot glue if I'm doing some crafting. And none of that will stick to the silicone craft sheet, which means that my work surface is going to stay sticky free. Look at that designer series paper. Is that not beautiful? What if I told you that this designer series paper was free? It is. It's one of the free selections during Stampin' Up's large sale of the year, which is going on right now through the end of February. So that's February 28th, and it's called Sale-A-Bration. Now, during this time, you are actually able to select any free products of your choice from the brochure. I want to make sure that I'm paying attention while I'm talking to you. You know how that goes while you're crafting, right? So we're going to put that panel here, and then I'm going to move these over, and we're going to do these other panels as well. Now, the Sale-A-Bration brochure is packed with some really fun products, and you get to choose any one you want when you spend $50 in product before shipping and tax. And I love that you are empowered to choose what you like. I don't know about you, but choosing it myself makes it even more fun. And then we've got one more panel here. I'll give you a quick look at that sale brochure in just a second, but you can find it in my online store. Go over to lisastampstudio.com and click on shop, and you'll be navigated right over there. All right, so we've got all of our panels put together here for our fun fold. All right, I'm going to set this piece aside. Let's move on the second piece. Now, unlike the first one, you're actually going to fold this backwards. So remember how we did this kind of center line in half. So this one's going to go this way. It's called a mountain fold because it makes a peak. And I'm going to take my bone folder and go over that. And then this is going to go backwards. So again, we're creating that Z. So look, a little bit of an accordion here. And then I'm just going to crease up on that as well. A good tip for you too, when you're using your bone folder, it's also a great time to make sure that your ends here are even. If they're not, you can kind of shimmy them before you crease them down. I don't know about you, but I can never do anything perfectly straight. So it's important for me to make sure that I've got it scored and seamed and even as possible. All right, we're going to do more designer series paper in a couple of these spots, and I did cut that ahead of time. Look, that same package of paper. I don't know about you. I always say if it's free, it's for me. I'm going to flip that over. Let's add some adhesive back here. And I'm using the Stampin' Seal Plus. This is my adhesive of choice. I do have osteoarthritis in my basal joints. So I find anything that I have to squeeze is very, very difficult for me. And I tend to be very messy with it. So adhesive works well for me because it's a cartridge. And then I'm going to take this one and we're going to add some adhesive to the back side. This is also a great time during Sale-A-Bration to possibly purchase that custom starter kit. So if you're like me and you want it all, there is definitely a way to get it all. Believe it or not, for $99, you can choose $125 in product for free. All right, let's work here since we've got a blank spot, and I left that open here on purpose. And I've got a piece of white cardstock here. And this is where we're going to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to move you in just a little bit closer for this so that you can see. And I'm going to use my Memento Black ink pad, and I'm also going to use my Bermuda Bay. Now, the one thing I love about Stampin' Up is the color coordination, so there's no guesswork. So let's go ahead and open this up. And I'm pulled out a greeting for the inside of my card that says, "So what if you're a year older? You're fabulous." And if you're wondering where this is coming from, it is also a free selection during the sale. And the stamp set is called Approaching Perfection. I love the witty sayings, some very simple images here, but I'm going to show you how to pair them up on this card tonight to make a really fun focal point. This is free, like I said, along with the designer series paper I've just showed you here, all in the sale brochure. And like I said, you can check out those free products in my online store. Let's go ahead and let's ink that up in the Bermuda Bay. And I am going to stamp that, probably a little bit more above the center mark because I want to make sure that I got room here to sign my name. And then we'll stamp that. I'm just taking that off camera and I'm cleaning that on my Stampin' Scrub because I don't like to put my stuff away dirty. And then I've got my Memento Black ink pad here. And here's that balloon that's inside that stamp set. So I'm going to ink this up, and I can't do anything straight. So here's a tip for you. Turn the paper horizontally will oftentimes make it easier for you. And then here comes my balloon. So we've got a little balloon next to our greeting, plenty of room right here to write your name or a little short message. So we're good to go. Now we are going to add a little color to this. And let me show you what I did. I brought in my Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers. Remember that color coordination we talked about? You can see that here. This is the Granny Apple Green, one of my favorite green colors. And you do get the combination of markers, which means you're going to get the light and the dark. They're dual ended, so you have a nice thin end and a thicker brush here. And we're going to actually use both. I want to add a little color to here. And although these are alcohol-based markers and intended to be blended, when you have a small area like this, there's really not too much to blend. So I'm going to give you a couple tips about that. First of all, don't be afraid to leave an area blank or white because it's going to lend credence to highlighting. So you're going to see how I left a little center there. Now, the alcohol base in the marker is going to need to evaporate in order for this to be able to blend at all. And that's really more important on those larger images. But I wanted to share that tip with you. This now is the darker shade. And I'm going to add a little shading to one side. It really doesn't matter where you put it because this one doesn't have a whole lot of definition lines to it. So I'm going to add a little bit there, and I'm going to put a smidgen of a dot where that balloon knot is. Now, I'm going to end up blending these together so those harsh lines are not predominant. But in order for that to really work well without bleeding, especially in this little tiny area, give that a few seconds for that alcohol to evaporate. This now is the light color we laid down first. And guess what I'm going to do? Because this is small, I'm going to work in small circular motions. And I'm bringing the dark into the light. I'm not even going to mess with that. As this processes, it's going to become more of its true color, so you'll see the gradation a little bit better. But while I've got that, I want to try something else here. And I did this on my original sample, and I really, really liked it. I wanted to highlight one or some of the words in the greeting. So I'm going to go back to my light marker. And this time, I'm going to use that fat, chubby side. And I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm going to go right over the words, "You're fabulous." Again, you're going to let that alcohol process just a little bit. And then I'm going to come over to the dark Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to lay a streak of color here at the bottom. Now, I realize there's that definition, once again, we just talked about. So you're going to want to blend those together, allowing that a little bit of time for that alcohol base to evaporate. And then look what I'm doing. Right here, I'm stretching these together. So what's going to happen is you're going to have more of an ombre look, which is really conducive to this beautiful ombre paper that's here. All right, let's go ahead and let's flip this over now. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back side of here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add this to that bottom blank panel that's here on that card stock. So let's go ahead and just border that and leave that here. Now let me move you out a little bit more so that you can see a little bit more of our card a little bit better. And now let's go here to the rest of our card. Now we're going to need a focal point, right? So I decided to take another piece of white cardstock, and now we're going to do a little bit of stamping. Now you might recall that I told you that we can actually put some of those greetings and images together to create a really interesting focal point for this birthday card. And that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to start with the Memento Black ink pad, which we just used once before. And this time I'm taking the words "Newsflash, birthdays found to be good for health. Studies show that people who have more birthdays live the longest." So cute, isn't it? But the tip for this is we are going to work from the bottom up. How many times have you stamped from the top down and you ran out of room? And that's exactly what I found out when I made this the first time. So I'm working backwards. I'm going to ink up my greeting in the Memento Black. And let's go ahead and stamp this here near the bottom. We're going to leave, maybe about a ½ inch. And then we're going to press. And when it sticks, that's always a good sign. Now, I'm needing to clean my stamp off camera because I want to teach you something kind of fun. Oftentimes, when you've got a greeting like this, you want to play up an emphasis of maybe some of the words. So let me show you what paper piercing is, or paper piecing. This is a piece of scrap paper and my Granny Apple Green ink pad. There's that color coordination. You'll recall that I just cleaned this off camera. So I've got a nice clean stamp here. If you're never sure, always stamp it on your scratch paper. You should have no residual color. That's an important tip if you're taking your ink pad or your stamp, from a dark to a very light color, like from black to yellow or black to a baby pink. Really, really important. You don't want any leftover pigmentation. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm concentrating just on the top half here, and I'm going to stamp that right here because that's all I'm looking for right now. Let me go ahead and close up that ink pad because an open ink pad around here is just a recipe for disaster. And I'm going to scoot this over, and we're going to add one more image here. And I'm going back to the Bermuda Bay. This is the candles that are part of that Approaching Perfection stamp set. So I'm going to ink those up. Another tip for you if you're a new stamper, Check the back of your stamp. You should make sure that you have no ink around the outside perimeter. Tapping straight up and down is going to ensure that you have good coverage. Rocking the stamp and the ink pad will always produce those funky edges. And then just in the center, we're going to stamp. So now what we've done is we've created a cluster here with some of the smaller images that really make a fun focal point. All right, next thing. We are going to do some cutting around here. Now, if you are very proficient with your trimmer, have at it. But I'm going to tell you that I love to teach you the easiest way to do things. And mine is with a very long-tipped pair of scissors. Now, you might have a pair in the kitchen that work well for this. We are just going to leave a little bit of that white cardstock around that box. We're not going to get fussy and try to make it all perfect. We're just going to leave a little bit of a white border. So there we go. That's left us with this. Let me throw this away and get that out of your camera view so it's easier for you to see. The next thing we're going to do is before we attach that, let's go ahead and get this ready for the focal point of our card. So let's put our layers together, and you're going to see I cut those before you joined me here. And I've got my silicone craft sheet once again, and we're going to add that here and here. And then we're going to add this on the Bermuda Bay cardstock. I'm going to turn it horizontally because I'm challenged with getting these smaller pieces straight. And then we're going to flip that over as well. And then we're going to add a little bit of adhesive here on the back side of this. And the same thing for me. You know, I love the grid paper, and these are sold in a pad. And because I'm challenged with getting a lot of things straight, that really does help me with alignment, especially with photopolymer stamps that are clear. This now, believe it or not, is going to go here. This is all actually going to be the front and the inside of the card all at the same time. So let's flip this over, and I'm going to add more adhesive. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could add dimensionals here. That will certainly work. And then this now is going to get centered on this panel. And then we're going to put this Z-fold together so you can see how the double Z-fold fits. And I'm looking to just align that. Remember this news flash? Let's flip that over. And this is where my mini dimensionals are going to come into play. This is probably one of my favorite tools here in the studio. This is called the Take Your Pick tool. And you have a pick because this is interchangeable tips. So there's a spatula on one end. It comes also with a stylus tool. It's got a putty tip for picking up those small pieces of paper. But this paper piercing tool attachment is like my best friend. These mini dimensionals are very, very small, and I find that it's difficult for me to pick them up with my arthritic fingers. So this kind of acts as my third hand, and I'm just going to place those here. I also use this tool to remove those paper backings because that helps pull those off for me, which is another thing that I'm having difficulty with as I age. That's left us now with these, and I love that those mini dimensionals are all pre-cut. I don't have to gunk up my scissors. You're going to mimic that original greeting. And now we've got the tricolor that we're looking for, which is going to bring continuity to this entire double Z fold. All right, so let's come back here. Do you remember these two pieces? Well, the most important thing I'm going to teach you about this is it's the opposite of what you think. Large panel goes to small side. Small panel goes to large size. That's how you're going to get the Z fold. Now, let me show you this. This is the template that I have for you. You're going to be able to download this for free. And I'm going to give you all the cutting dimensions for the base where you're going to score. And look at, I even gave you all the designer series paper scores or cutting lines here as well. Also for here. One of these panels, I opted to do the inside greeting, which is here. But I gave you the dimension and designer series paper in case you want to change things up or make an additional layer smaller than this. I also want to point out that I have labeled the panels for you so that you know what goes where. Easy to assemble. All right, so that's the free download. Now let me show you what we're going to need to do. Let's create this Z here, and let's create this Z here. This is going to have to go here, but you're going to see how important it is where you put the adhesive. So let's go ahead and flip this upside down, and you're only going to place it on this 2.5-inch area here. So I'm going to take my Stampin' CO Plus, and I'm going to come all the way around the border. When you are making a fun fold, never, ever, ever skimp on your adhesive because guaranteed they are going to open it and close it lots and lots of times, and you want to make sure that it holds up. Now you're going to notice my fingers are right here on the back, and you're going to notice that this has to go in like this a little bit, otherwise it's not going to fit. So I'm just going to slide that in there a little bit, keeping my fingers here. And what I'm looking to do now is I'm looking to make sure that this is centered on the inside of my card. So I'm looking here and here here and here to see if the border is about even. Once it is, I'm going to move my fingers and I'm going to press. This lever now is open, but this one is not. So what you're going to do now is you're going to place 1, 2, even 3 rows of adhesive. You don't want anything past here. Otherwise, guess what? You won't open the card. So I'm going to flip this open. I'm going to lay this underneath here in case I'm messy. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to be really close because I want to make sure I don't extend past this little area here. Otherwise, it will not open. And then all you're going to do is just close it on top of itself and press. And then look, there's your double Z fold. And it's vertical. Isn't that fun? Because typically you see these horizontally. But you know, I can't stop there. We got to add some bling. So I asked my husband, who we fondly call Bob the Builder, do you think that this more masculine colored birthday card would be okay if it had rhinestones on the candle flames? And he was like, oh, absolutely. He said, you know, we're not opposed to that kind of stuff if it's used appropriately. I'm like, oh, well, that's good to know. So I'm going to add those to those little flames. That brings also really fun shapes from here to the circles, doesn't it? But, you know, I just couldn't stop myself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a couple more here to the inside because can you ever have too much sparkle when it's a birthday? No, this is all part of the celebration, right? And these have glue dots on them, so they're going to make my life really, really easy. There we go. Now I've got one other card to share with you that is in the other orientation. So let me go ahead and bring that one in, giving you a closer look at this one. And that, oh, you know what? I have one other in a different color. I always practice before I'm with you live. So let me show you the rest of the designer series papers that are in here. Isn't this color pretty? This is actually Blackberry Bliss. I just paired it with the Bermuda. The other color in this package, I believe, is Rococo Rose, if my memory serves me right. So exact same card as this one, just different color concept. So you get a little bonus there. This one is not on my blog in the tutorial, just so that you're aware of that. But this one is, and this is your traditional horizontal double C fold. Isn't this cute and so simple? Great way to use your scrap designer series papers because these panels are very, very small. And I love that it just plays up a very simple image. And this actually says bonjour. And then inside it says, how are you? And I know exactly who needs a little pick me up. So I'm going to send this off to her. But that's really fun. This is using the hot dog stamp set that you're going to find in the mini catalog. And if you don't already have a demonstrator and you want catalogs, head over to lisasstampstudio.com and click on catalogs there. So I would love to know which orientation you like best. And you know what, just for fun, which color combination do you like best? Do you like the horizontal or do you like the vertical? Now, while you're commenting, I'm going to turn the camera around. Just give me 1 second. Okay, now I can see all your fun comments. Thank you for those very, very much. Now, before we go, I want to tell you a couple things. Remember, you're going to get a template I was just sharing with you over on my website. Underneath the link to this video, underneath the title of this video, I'm sorry, there is a link that will lead you over to my website. Just scroll, you'll see it there and you can download it. Tons of pictures for you there as well. Completely free, no obligation. Now, while you're over on my website, if you scroll about halfway down, the newsletter box will pop up. And I would love to have you sign up for my free weekly e-newsletter. Every Thursday, I send you a tutorial that's not shared on any of my other platforms, and it's completely free. It's a no holds barred kind of email, really, really simple. I would love to share that with you. I offer a huge PDF tutorial library, so scan through that under the classes tab. And if you would do me a favor, it helps me to keep the content free here on YouTube. Would you give me a thumbs up, which is a like if you've enjoyed tonight's card? And would you share this video with your crafty friends? You can pin it on Pinterest, you can put it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you like to share. It really would be a great compliment to me because sharing with your friends and family is the highest compliment that you can pay. I am so glad that you've enjoyed tonight's card. I'm going to be coming back with you live next Monday. I hope you're enjoying being live with me every week because I'm certainly enjoying being live with you. So mark your calendar for Monday. I'm looking to make sure it's February 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm just going to tell you, this card is really cool. You're not going to want to miss it. And I'm using brand new product that's coming your way on March 2nd. So I hope you'll mark your calendar to join me. Megan, thank you for all your hard work tonight. And thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay well. Bye bye.